What's up, everybody? Jamie here. Welcome back to another episode of 3%. Well, we are human here at 3%, as we often point out to you guys, and we messed up a recording, and so we are pulling one out from the archives of what we have here. You will notice, if you're someone who watches the podcast, that we are wearing jackets in this episode. And as it is currently August here in Tennessee, it'll be very clear very quickly that we are not recording this month. This is an episode that Blake and I recorded on a planning and dreaming trip for the 3% community back in January. And we just talk about what is the point in changing some of these behaviors or changing some of these things that get in the way of being the man we want to be. And we were going to release this episode later, but like I said, we're human and we messed up a recording, so we're bringing it to you now. And we hope you enjoy it, and we're glad you're here. So let's get into the episode. Welcome to 3%. We're your hosts, Jamie Hay.
And I'm Blake Roberts.
We're two best friends, fathers, husbands, and just two guys trying to figure it out.
We're also therapists, which is probably a pretty important part.
That's true.
And we believe that at our best, people are 97% honest with themselves and others. And it's that hidden 3% of emotions, needs, desires, and behaviors that we keep to ourselves that keep us bound to shame and loneliness, from which many of our issues stem.
Each week on this podcast, we'll interview leaders in the fields of psychology, theology, arts, and athletics to explore holistic masculinity. We're not here to tell you the man you need to be, but we are here to help you explore what gets in the way of being the man you want to be.
We're going to help you develop courage and give you the tools to share your 3% in the relationships that matter most, so you can more deeply connect with yourself, God, and others. So, pull up a chair.
Let's get into it.
So let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of 3%. Glad you're hanging out with us today. If you are watching this, you can tell that we are not in our normal spot. And if you're listening to this, I'll give you a little context. So we are away this weekend for technically our first 3%, what do we call it?
Retreat?
Retreat. In the sense of, like, we'll have 3% retreats for guests in the future, but this is like a planning retreat, dreaming. And we are in Center Hill Lake at a friend of mine's cabin who's graciously let us stay here. And I mean, it's pretty sweet. We got 2 wood-burning fireplaces in the house. It's a pretty rustic cabin, so we're able to smoke a cigar as we're sitting in leather chairs with a fire behind us. It's like the perfect scenery for us. It's just very fitting.
Yeah, very inspiring. There's views that you can't see in this episode, but you'll be able to see. We're going to shoot a couple of episodes while we're here, and one of them will be during the daytime, and you'll be able to see some of the visual of what we get to see here, hopefully.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so even being here, I think, helps us sit in some gratitude of what change has done for us in our lives. And we wanted to put in a longer form an episode about why is it important to change. You might be listening to our podcast holding on to a burden, holding on to an addiction, holding on to loneliness. There is likely a reason you're listening to us. I think if you connect with this, there's likely a reason. And maybe it's something you've already worked through, and we're really glad you're here too, and you probably will connect with what we're about to talk about. But if you haven't worked through something, and to be honest, Blake and I are working through our things continually, but
Yeah.
there has been a lot of change in our lives, and so we want to talk about what's the point in changing. There's this idea in counseling that I think both of us use, especially with addiction, called motivational interviewing. And one of the central ideas of motivational interviewing is asking questions that allow the person who's holding that thing to engage with, what is the point in changing this burden? And I think the short answer in us answering that with you is we don't know what the point in changing is for you. And hopefully you're listening to this so you can learn to connect with yourself, connect with other people, connect with why this burden, this problematic behavior, whatever it is occurring in your life. And the unfortunate answer that I have for you, if you're looking for a fix, is that I don't know what the point in changing that is for you. And I do know what the point in changing was for me. And I think the way that we want to help you address what's going on with you is by telling you a little bit more about why it was worth changing for us. We talked a little bit about this in the second episode, which is the one where you got to know us a bit about our journey. But
That was the welcome to the party.
yeah, welcome to the party.
Nice.
But what we want to continue to talk about here is what was going on in our lives that drove us to change. What did we see that motivated it? And why have we found that to be important? So kind of want to start by going to Blake and asking you simply, why was it important for you to change?
Yeah, when I reflect on that question, it's like twofold, sort of. Initially, it was important for me to change because I didn't have the option. Well, I did have the option, but I didn't in the sense that I woke up one day and thought, I really need to change some things. There certainly has been times in my life where I have had that realization of like I need to change, but the like real pivotal point of that change, and I think some of these episodes are recorded like so all over the place. I don't know. I think we've talked about this at this point, like where we share our stories a little bit.
Yes.
So like the pivotal point I think about is when my addiction came out and really like how it was affecting my relationship with Shelly, my girlfriend at the time.
And who is Shelly, remind?
Shelly is my wife now,
Yeah.
who was my girlfriend at the time.
Nice.
When I started to be honest about the porn addiction that I had and that whole side of my story. So the point of changing then was this more reactionary, like, I have to change because now my relationship, this person that I really care about and that I long to do this relationship differently than I had any other ones, is now pretty threatened because of my behavior. And so it was this reactionary need to change instead of I guess the opposite would be like a proactive,
Right.
like, I'm discovering in myself that I have this problem and I really need to work on it. It was like, no, I'm hiding this problem that I have that I need to work on. And then that got discovered. And then it's like, oh shoot, I need to change. And over time, in 12-step recovery, they talk about like real change doesn't happen until you get to the place where you realize you are who you need to change for.
Right.
Not your spouse, not your kids. They're certainly affected by it. But in the beginning, it was like, I need to change for it. The point of me changing is for Shelly. It's for my relationship. It's
To maintain it or to save it.
to maintain it, to save it, because now this thing like is threatened of being taken away. And that's like what I needed. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I needed to get into the door, so to speak, into the path of changing. And then over time, when I start to realize, oh no, the point in changing is actually because my soul needs it. Like I need it. And Shelly needs it too, but like I need it even more than Shelly does.
Right.
In some way.
I like something you said there, though, that normalizes, like, if you were listening to this and you are changing for someone, that's an okay place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I see that all the time in the counseling room. Is
100%.
somebody comes because their spouse, maybe even their spouse is the only reason they're in the counseling room. Mm-hmm. Their spouse said, you need to go to counseling because you're XYZ, you know, the problem.
Yeah. I had that same conversation with a guy the other day in a similar situation. Like, he's largely there because something got discovered and his wife was like, you need to go talk to somebody. And we had that conversation of like, this is like, that's great. Like that's what got you here. And it's not just that. Like, I think we all have that little part in us that longs to change and to heal. But it's like, whatever, that's what got you here, and that's great. Yeah. And let's talk about the parts of you that don't want to change.
Yeah.
Or that don't want to be here. Because if we're just going off of the premise of you need to change because somebody else wants you to, you may like change some behaviors, but like it's not going to stick.
That could be honestly why you developed the problematic behavior in the first place, is because you didn't feel welcomed as who you are.
Say more about that.
Well, and I want to get back to what you're saying
and
your switch. I don't want to take us too far off of this, but if you're feeling like I'm going to counseling to fix me so that I can be palatable for someone else, that can feel really shaming. Mm-hmm. And it's that shame in the first place that you might have felt as a longer theme that made you develop the problematic behavior in the first place. Like you had to hide. And so you hid in the bottle or on a porn site or whatever that may look like for you. And so the progress is difficult because it's even maybe hurtful that you're there to heal in the first place. So wanted to just normalize that for people who are listening. Yeah. Because if you feel like you've been made to be the problem in your story so far, even the reason that you're trying to heal is because you've been made to feel like a problem, you're not alone. And we've felt those things, or certainly plenty of people have felt those things with you. And there's still hope for you. What we hope for you is that in listening to this podcast, joining this community, is that we can determine why it's important for you to change.
And you're not the problem.
What do you mean by that?
The behavior is the problem.
Nice.
But there's a separation between you and the behavior. Even if you're the one doing the behavior, you're not the problem. And so it's like, yes, the behavior needs to change and you need to change in some degree, but not, I don't want to say it.
Like you're not dismissing responsibility.
No.
But maybe taking out of enmeshment you and your problematic behavior as your identity.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are genuine, healthy, God-given needs and desires that are leading to whatever behavior is problematic.
Right. Right.
And so to be able to separate like me from this behavior doesn't excuse it, and it's not like a get out of jail free card. it's just to say like there's a lot more going on here. And the point in changing this behavior is because like these desires that you're trying to get met can be met in healthier ways and more fruitful ways.
Yeah, it kind of gets to the idea of like, we've talked about this before. It's a guy named Jay Stringer who has this idea in his book Unwanted. And it's this idea of seeking freedom from something versus seeking freedom for something. And what he's trying to talk about is you can seek freedom, you can in trying to recover for someone else. If your point in changing is to maintain your relationship or save your relationship, you can seek freedom from a behavior to save that. And also, seeking freedom from your behavior can allow you to seek freedom for meeting the need that's taking you to the behavior. So, like, not even to jump to me too quickly.
No, go ahead.
But I didn't have to change to save my relationship. I had kept my addiction well hidden. And the only person it wasn't hidden from was me. And
Which you probably thought you were being effective.
thought I was being so effective. But I was numb. Always. I had no idea what I needed, much less how to meet it. And so for me, what was the point in changing at first? I remember going to my first therapist and just saying, the only two things I feel are numbness or anger. And it wasn't, porn didn't drive me to go see a therapist. So to all of you who are like, you're holding on, you're placing your need onto some other thing. Me too. I took my need to feel something to a therapist. I had a friend who had a family member who got a cancer diagnosis. They told me about it, and I just noticed in myself that I felt nothing for them. I didn't feel empathy. I didn't feel sadness. And it was one of the first times cognitively I went, dude, that's messed up that you don't feel something.
Somebody said that to you, or you
I
had
said
that
it to
awareness?
me. I was just so upset with myself that I couldn't bear my friend's pain.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you think that people around you, friends, family, knew that you were numb?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Funny story about that, actually. So this is probably 10 years ago. When I first got married. I had done a little bit of counseling that didn't go well because I wasn't ready. And I had just come out of an abusive, long-term abusive relationship, and I was told to go to counseling to work on that. So maybe where some of you are, I was told to go to counseling. I didn't want to, wasn't ready for it, felt no affinity for it.
What's the point?
What's the point? And for me at the time, I could see a point. Like, I was abused. I need to figure out how that affected me. And I didn't want to let go of my anger or my rage. That was what let me feel powerful over the person who hurt me. And it felt like everybody was trying to take that away from me. And so I wasn't ready to let go.
By telling you to go get help?
By telling me to go get help. Everybody was trying to take away my rage instead of making space for my rage.
Wow.
And so 4 months after I go to this therapist, I was walking into his office and I had said to him, you know what? I'm healed. I'm good to go. And I left.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this story.
Yeah. I look back on that and I have a lot of sadness for that kid and also understanding. I didn't want to let it go.
Yeah.
I had no desire to change. And after that, maybe a year or two after, I'm newly married and considering a job change, and I said, you know what, maybe I'll become a therapist to my wife. And she goes, you'd be a terrible therapist.
When was this?
Elizabeth would be totally fine with me saying this story, but I was maybe 24. I had just left a job at a music label, and I was just trying to figure out what I wanted. And I thought, I'll become a therapist. I've got this traumatic story. Maybe I can sit with other people's traumatic stories. And she was like, you don't have empathy for anybody. You'd be a terrible therapist. So yes, people definitely noticed I was numb.
Wow.
And to her credit, she was right. I mean, the story I'm saying about my friend who had the cancer diagnosis, or their family member had the cancer diagnosis, it was at the same time. And so she's saying that to me, and and other friends are encouraging me to go to counseling after hearing my story and probably seeing all over me that it was not healed.
Yeah.
I'd probably talk about it and just like dismiss myself, be angry. That was probably all there. They could probably see all of that. And so, I went into that counselor's office. The point of changing for me at the time was to develop empathy. That was the hope. I probably didn't want to let go of my addiction.
Develop empathy for yourself?
No, actually, other people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't care that I didn't have empathy for me. I was still raging and fine with that.
Which is kind of similar to what I was saying, like develop empathy, change for somebody else so that you can be better for somebody else.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was trying to the difference would maybe be is that I wasn't trying to be better for anybody. I was done with myself. I was over myself. Tired of not feeling for the people I cared about. And so the point in changing was I wouldn't have been able to articulate it at the time, but the reason for changing was freedom for emotional depth.
Yeah.
Freedom to experience life.
Yeah.
I definitely had that depressed, is this all it is mentality. So definitely freedom for emotional depth and full living. Chip Dodd's whole full living idea. Chip Dodd is a guy who wrote a book called The Voice of the Heart. And that was actually what we went through with my first counselor, just giving me language for what was going on in me.
Yeah, sure.
And that experience, the point in changing initially was, can I start to name what's going on in me? Later, it came up that the reason I can't name these things is I can't feel these things. The reason I can't feel these things is because I'm working to numb these things. And the way that I'm working to numb these things is through porn use and problematic sexual behavior. And then it became, for a while, freedom from porn. Which is a bummer, because it kind of switched back to freedom from something instead of freedom for something.
But then I imagine inevitably it switched back to freedom for something.
Much later, I think. Freedom from worked for me for a while. You know, I kind of developed oh my goodness, I can't believe I've been blindly hurting my wife so much. And so I went to the model that you're talking about, freedom from porn.
Yeah.
with kind of the idea of freedom for a better relationship with Elizabeth, but more so freedom from porn will equal that instead of freedom for intimacy, freedom for present.
Freedom for intimacy.
Yeah. So back to you. I cut you off. in
No,
the
that
middle of
was
what you're
really
saying
good.
To give a little more in depth, hopefully some empathy to those who are listening of how you're not going to always show up with the same reason with a problematic behavior. But you were saying you were trying to change for Shelley, and then what changed for you?
Number one, don't apologize for going on that, because that was good. This is even helpful for me to hear. I kind of forgot we were recording for a second. It
Yeah.
just felt like we were chatting.
Yeah.
What changed for me? Where did it change from?
Freedom to, or where did it change from trying to change for Shelley to changing
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't know that it was at least right now, when you ask me that question, a specific time doesn't come to mind of, oh, this is when it changed.
Yeah.
But something about and it's kind of like similar to the work in therapy, that it's the work or the growth or the change over time is a little bit more opaque and under the surface, so to speak, so that it's difficult to look and be like, oh, this day
Right.
is when things really started to change,
Right.
or when I've started to feel like I was healing. But it's like over time, the culmination of just like showing up and doing the work. Somewhere along the way, I think I just started to notice my own depravity, and my own longing for change, and the point in changing being for me, right?
Yeah.
Because even in the changing for Shelley, stuff was happening in me, and like God was working in me and my heart.
A lot of progress was being made.
A lot of progress. So much progress.
Right.
And
I would say the same for me as well.
yeah. And yet, like, I was still longing, like there was still something missing.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way. Like, again, it's not like, oh, I got to this point and I realized this is the point in changing.
Yeah.
And then I've never looked back from there.
Yeah.
I can't say that to be true, because I still, things even this week, like as of this week, that are different than the struggles I used to have,
Right.
but still struggles and similar themes in my story popping up, and feeling like, gosh, what is the point in changing? And, now that I'm talking about that, Shelly and I were having a conversation the other night, and, I believe I shared it in the second episode, where in high school I attempted suicide at 17.
Right.
And there was for sure this part of me that's like, what's the point? I don't know if what's the point in changing was the full sentence that was living in me, but what's the point was
Yeah, what's
definitely
the point,
the
for
sentence.
sure.
And at that time, like, I clearly didn't have enough of an answer that felt believable enough for me not to drive my car into a tree. And something happened in this last week that was pretty raw for us and was related to me and, still my imperfections that are showing up and causing parts of me that still want to hide. Not like hiding porn now, because I've done so much work on that, but like the part of me that wants to hide, I'm learning is unrelated to porn.
Yeah.
It is in the sense that like that's what it used for a long time and that's what it was hiding. But like there's a little boy in me who wants to hide.
Yeah.
And so with this thing that I'm being intentionally vague right now, because it's still kind of fresh, but where I was hiding and I was asking myself, like, what's the point in changing? And I told her, it's like, I know myself enough now to know, like, I feel safe with myself. I'm not going to do anything to harm myself. And I feel it's not the exact same as the feeling in when I was 17, where I said, what's the point? But I feel this, like, what's the point in even changing?
Yeah, totally.
And because I am more now like trying to change for myself and believe that out of that, the change will be better for my wife, my family, my friends, my work, my community. And when I ask myself that question, like, or when I told her, like, this part of me that's like, what's the point in changing? Like, I'm working on developing a relationship with that part of me to where, like, it made me really sad that part of me was showing up. And I think in times prior, if I was like, what's the point of changing? And I'm just thinking about, I just need to change for Shelly. I would just either like get exhausted by that or like, I don't even like that even feels like too much.
Right.
I don't know if I'm being clear because I'm just now thinking about it this way, but to be able to ask myself now, what's the point in changing in something as fresh as this week? And to be able to be like, oh yeah, I don't need to change because I need her to feel better, or I need her to not feel fear, or I need this practical circumstance to change, but like I need to because that little boy in me, like he's why I need to change. He's the point in changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Both of us kind of had a raw thing come up this week.
Of course.
So even as people are listening to this, we've been in recovery since 2016 for you,
yes.
2017 for me. So a long time, but not a long time. I know there are lots of things that are to come in my recovery, but I want to normalize for people listening to this. If you're new in your recovery, 8 years in for me, I had a fresh thing this week that was like a revelation for why it would be important for me to change.
And hold the thought. The one thing I want to interject is when we say in recovery, we're talking to people like us who are maybe have been in a 12-step recovery or recovery from addiction. And we're not just talking about people that are recovering from addiction, but more just like recovering ourselves.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only distinction.
No, I appreciate that. I think what came up for me this week, and just to be vulnerable on here, what came up for me in my counseling this week was realizing how much rage I still hold about my story. And how rage shows up in my relationships, and how it's the same part showing up in my relationships and showing up that makes me want to still numb with porn. And so freedom now, I'm thinking about how I would talk to my son, my 3.5-year-old son, about this. And I'm thinking about him coming to me and saying, I hold all of this rage, this little boy holding all of this rage. I wouldn't tell him that you need to just get better for those around you. I would tell him that you don't have to hold that. That I want to be here for you. And I think for me, freedom for me from here, the point in changing for me, is so that I can hold myself with the same compassion that I hold my son. And so that I'll have the freedom for the relationships that I want him to have, and be able to have the same relationships that I want him to have in my life.
That's beautiful.
So we really went off on a runner here, and this is
If you're going to hang out with us continually, you might just have to get used to that.
yeah, especially these episodes that are just us.
And we're outside of our context right now, like being at this cabin we're here for a day and a half. Like just feels like one long day. So like the constraints of time that are normally in our mind and the structure and it's just kind of out the window right now.
It's in such a place of authenticity and realness, for sure.
I mean, we're smoking a cigar inside. That's pretty
cool.
Raw. And
so we wanted to make this because, again, I wouldn't tell my 3.5-year-old son how to change.
Yeah.
I would just tell him that I want to be there for him. And similarly, I don't want to tell a single one of you how to change. I do hope that if you find you want to change, that you will hear things in the stories told on this podcast. You will hear things in the interviews, and you will feel the freedom to ask us questions that will allow you to find the change, the freedom for that you want. Because we're just figuring out what we're seeking freedom for. And that's as present as this week for us.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that 9 years, 8 years hasn't brought a lot of really helpful progress. That progress is the only reason we're sitting in these chairs.
Yeah, 100%.
And there's progress to be made, and we'll probably be making that progress pretty raw on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we hope for and pray for.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to not be. Even in doing this, like, there's the pressure to feel done and complete and finished, and then you bring somebody along, or you say, "Hey, here's the blueprint. Here's what we figured out, and if you apply it, then you too will experience the same change." And I just look back at them like, in the last 9 years, we have not bought into or like followed any of the types of brands or people that are saying that,
right.
And we've experienced change.
Right.
And so, and I used to not be okay with that though. Like, you've got to have this finished thing to then help other people. And yet the people that help me the most are the ones who are emulating what we're talking about right now, that we're trying to emulate, which is like
authentic
and imperfect, and like there has been a lot of growth.
Yeah.
To think of who I was 7 years ago is like extremely different than who I am now.
Right.
And there's always work to do. There's always more change to make.
Progress is seasonal. What you're finding freedom for will change as the world around you changes.
Yeah.
But the tools and resources that we use to find what we're seeking freedom for, why we are changing, those are still useful to us.
Yeah.
And then we're finding new ones.
That's right.
And so we hope that as we find them, we can communicate them to you. We can communicate what has been helpful to us. And we want to hear what's helpful to you.
Mm-hmm.
But what we hope for and what we pray for everybody listening is that the point in changing for you will be for you. Because we may not know you yet, but we care. That's the whole reason we're doing this. So,
sign us off.
Yeah. We're glad you're here. Keep coming back. You're worth it.
You're worth it. Dang it. I tried to say it at the same time. Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode. Listen, we're working on some really practical resources to help you connect more deeply with yourself and others. So if you head over to our website, 3percentco.com, you can learn more about that. The link will be in the show notes. And this is the part of the show where we ask you for some help. Listen, we don't have a big fancy production team. We're recording these in my therapy office in between sessions and in the margins of our life. We just really believe in the message that much. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and rarely would I take the time to review and rate a show, just because honestly, I forgot. It wasn't until we started doing this show that I realized doing that actually really does help these platforms notice our show and get the word out. And so if any of this is impactful to you, we would love it if you took a second to leave us a review, rate us, or if you want to just do it the old-fashioned way, text this link to a friend and say, hey, let's talk about this episode. Whatever you do, make sure to follow us on whatever platform you're listening to so you never miss an episode. We're really grateful you're here, and we'll see you next week.
So let's be honest.